right, let's go. Welcome back, Let's Do Video viewers, and good to see you, Tim. And this time I don't have to say it's been so long. It feels like forever. We were in person together recently.
We were indeed, yeah, in Austin, lovely sunny Austin. It was nice to have something where I didn't have to wear a coat or a jacket all the day.
The weather was just amazing. Hold on, zoom in a little bit. Get a little cozier here. And we had a wonderful time at Zoho Day. And I think we should just start out just by thanking our hosts. Amazing event, flawless execution in terms of, there's two sides of it. There's the information we need to get. There's a reason we're there. There's doing our jobs, which is the important part, which was perfect. And then there's, showing us a nice time and being social and fun and food and everything was really wonderful. So thank you so much, Zoho, for hosting.
Yeah, fantastic, really well organized. And it must be very difficult. It's like herding cats, isn't it? Getting analysts together in the same room. But they did a very good job. It was a very busy event, wasn't it?
It was. It was two very full packed days, long days. And, sometimes I have a complaint that I don't have at this event, but sometimes I have a complaint at events like this that we hear the same information over and over again because the product manager for product A, his message or her message is the same as the new software developer's message for the software developing. It's all ties in, so you hear the same kind of. It's like I've seen this slide 4 times at this, but this was presentation after presentation, information after information, and no duplication. It was all relevant, it was all new information. So I was almost overloaded. It was really a lot.
It was, and it's a very new and refreshing approach for Zoho as they start looking to penetrate into the enterprise market.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into the overall message or what I took away. There's always a lot more to Zoho than you think, and that's the message that they need to get out, or they're getting out to enterprise. And they're a little farther ahead than I thought. The NDA, of course, but they shared names with us, and I've heard of that company. They have some enterprise. I think the issue, and it might be pretty obvious, if you're a small medium business. And you say to your boss, "Hey, we're using Zoho." Your boss says, "All right, we're being creative and trying different things and trying to get. We're willing to take risks to get ahead of the competition." That's what small medium businesses do. If you work at an enterprise and you're making this decision, you're making a really nice salary, and you don't want to take risks, and you don't want to say to your boss, "Why did you use something I've never heard of before?"
Yeah.
No, I'm using Microsoft, right? So it's hard for Zoho to get these accounts, but they're getting them.
Yeah, it's hard for Zoho to get those accounts if they approach the market, the enterprise market, in the same way as they did with the SMB space. So it's not really effective to say to an enterprise, we've got 55 different apps that all run on our platform. So what I find really interesting about Zoho is they realize that large enterprises, and by enterprises we mean something in the region of 1,000 to 5,000 seats. Large enterprises have got a mix of different systems of engagement, different systems of record, and all sorts of legacy equipment that can either be legacy hardware, software, databases that can either be cloud-based or on-prem. So what they're approaching the enterprise with is this composable platform as opposed to a bundle of apps, which is a very unique and different proposition altogether.
Should I bring up one of the is this what we're referencing now? Let me back up a little bit. Or am I getting ahead of us? Do we want the other one first?
Yeah, let's try the other one first, because that was one slide that did rear its head in a number of presentations, because it is an important one.
Let me get people.
And that was the one that sort of looked at.
I'm going to cut off our heads for a second, but I want people to get a peek.
There we go. That's okay. So right at the top, it was sort of looking at all the different low code, no code, and pro code capabilities they've got that integrate with all different systems of record, systems of engagement across this sort of orchestration layer and these sort of unified data platform. And what's beautiful about that is you can leverage Zia, which is Zoho's AI, to be able to do some really clever things in terms of summaries and information sharing and data sharing between all these disparate systems of record, systems of engagements and platforms. So for me, this was really, really interesting because it almost felt like there was this middleware platform that enterprises can leverage without having to um, do too much upfront work and too much customizable work with all of their legacy systems. Because as you can imagine, it's very problematic and very expensive to be able to recreate what you had in legacy on a new platform.
Yeah, it's one thing to just sign up for a new service. It's another thing to shift over your old service. You would think it'd be easier. Oh, we have everything already set up. We have all our data. No, it's way harder. You're better off starting a new company, starting from scratch. Uh,
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, look at large enterprises that may have multiple instances of CRM. You know, our company, for example, has multiple instances of Salesforce because we've acquired various companies, and it's an absolute nightmare being able to trying to be able to deduplicate some of the entries. Now, of course, if you've got this abstraction layer with Zoho, you can use Zia to be able to dedupe some of that data, but you can also then take Salesforce information and then pass that to Zoho's front end and their CRM application, which you can tailor and customize based on your users' needs and demands. So it really helps in terms of disintermediating all of that legacy stuff. You don't have to buy overly expensive CRM licenses. You can leverage Zoho's own CRM license and their own apps there and customize those to suit what you need in your enterprise. So very unique approach entirely.
Now I want to talk about their apps for a minute. You do make an important point that if all your stuff is in Salesforce, it's almost a non-starter having a conversation saying, let's replace Salesforce. I mean, it's like, oh, no, no, no. We just spent all this time and money figuring it out. The conversation is to be, there are apps that can leverage our Salesforce data. Oh, okay, that's a conversation we can have. But we talk about the breadth of their apps. When I first saw 55 apps and the list of the types of things that it's not like, oh, a bunch of different types of video apps. It's everything. I mean, it's everything. It's crazy. I'm like wondering how that works for them. Is it too much to focus on? Is it too broad? But I always learn the most at these events from talking to customers. And zoom in a little bit more, get a little cozier here. And I was talking to customers there, and they said what happened. I love this story. The way they became Zoho customers was their CEO needed to log into something and said, "Oh, what's our password for this? I don't know our password for this." And someone said to the CEO, "Oh, go into our OneDocs and go to the Word doc that's titled passwords." And he said, "What? Oh, no, 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 no." And he opened up the company's OneDrive, and there was a Word doc, and it was titled password, and it had every company password in there in that one doc. And he lost his mind. He says, "Oh my, what if anybody saw this? What if this got out? Oh my God." And he said, "We need one of those password managey things. There's all these apps out there, right? LastPass is a common one."
Mm.
And out of all the ones that they looked at, they happened to find Zoho, and they liked it. I mean, all the Zoho, we talk about the breadth of it, but each app they can back up. It's not like just put it out there. They have the developers, so their password manager app is a good one, and they liked it. And then they liked Zoho, and now they're using 12 Zoho apps, but they got in on the password manager. So the breadth of their offerings, that explains, or it's a big part of their small to medium business success. They're getting them left and right.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as that elevates up to the enterprise, we've got this layer of domain specific application platforms, which could be IT service management, it could be finance. CRM, I think, is going to be a huge one for Zoho as part of that land and expand strategy into the enterprise. But there's also things like collaboration, obviously, and IoT as well. So they've got all these domain specific use cases and ways of landing and expand into an enterprise without saying, "Oh, just get rid of Google Workspace, get rid of Microsoft Office 365, get rid of Salesforce." Is a case of we've got all these different insertion points in an enterprise. Let's see which one works for you. And then over time, if you wish to decommission some of the existing capabilities that you have with other vendors, then do so. But for me, that's a very intelligent and well thought through strategy.
Yeah, I have a mental image of when I was a kid, Legos. You know, and if you make a Lego spaceship and there's a few pieces missing here and a few pieces missing there and a few pieces missing there, I don't want to buy a whole nother Lego spaceship kit. That's what, you know, if Microsoft and you want to switch to WebEx or whatever, that's kind of what you're doing. You're going from one kit to another. With Zoho, you can kind of pick your Legos and pop them in, and it might wind up being a lot of Zoho Legos once you're done, but you don't get more than you need. Um, and that ties into something. One of my best friends in the industry, Melody Brew, was there. The amazing Melody Brew, and she is. There's one thing about Zoho that she really loves, and she always brings up. So I want to bring up because it's important because she's heard it from customers. It's not just something they've told her. Um, Zoho looks at the usage of what their customers are using, and if you're not using one of their apps, they'll reach out to you and be like, "Hey, you know, you're paying us for this and you're not using it. You want to talk to us about why you're not using it? Maybe you could be using it, or maybe just turn it off." No one else does that. People are always like, "Hey, they're still paying for." I literally, and this sounds like something I'm making up, but I was talking to old. I have a group that I meet with of old semi-retired industry friends that are just tell old stories. And one of them is still involved with a company that gets these $5 checks from customers from a company that they bought 10 years ago that stopped functioning 5 years ago. The service is some sort of, I don't remember, some sort of internet service thing. And the service doesn't exist anymore. It's not functioning, but they're still getting these $5 checks. And they're like,
Wow.
we'll keep taking them if people want to send us, because you know people just have their list of checks they put out every month. Um, that's the way it's terrible, but that's the way the world is. So for a company like Zoho to actively comb through their customer data and say, hey, this customer, if they're not using this, we can't take their money. Someone call them and figure it out. That
Yeah,
says
and
a
that
lot about a company.
customer, yeah, and that customer centric approach really does pay off, because it just means that you end up with a very happy long term customer rather than someone that feels we're being nickled and dined here. And if you look at some of the CRM applications, I was speaking to my colleague David Myron that was at the event. He was sort of saying with some of the CRM vendors, you start talking to customers, and there's almost like this 9% inflation tax that seems to be added on top of the license every single year. And you're not getting a great deal of functionality and features over and above what you had, but it's the cost of doing business. It's the cost of being a customer. So Zoho has a very different approach to that.
You know, it's funny. Out of all the 50 plus apps that Zoho offers, we keep kind of coming back to CRM. And for me, and I assume something similar is going on in your head, is of all the areas we're talking about, we're kind of dissatisfied with what's out there existing.
Yeah.
The companies out there, they are known for being a little bit predatory of their customers, for charging too much and too many add-ons, and you get all set up and you want to do this. Oh, you want to do that. Oh, then you need our extra sorting function that costs another. So to have a good CRM from a company that has the opposite customer philosophy is a big deal. And out of all the 50 plus, yeah, I'm keeping an eye on their CRM.
Yeah, and you can, I mean, what I found really interesting is they got this application called Canvas, which allows you to customize your UI. So, say, for example, you might have a Salesforce backend, you want to integrate Zoho CRM um, for people that you don't want to have a really expensive Salesforce license for. Um, you could create a front end application that runs on a mobile phone. So your field service agents or your system, your Salesforce, when they go out and see a customer, they just use the mobile phone as a very quick and easy way of updating notes without having to go to open up your laptop, go to a web page, fill in all those details if it's just a quick update. So it does provide you with that huge degree of flexibility there.
You know, maybe we should get into. It's funny. Every recap we just get AI, 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 and they had a lot of AI, but we had other things to talk about. What was my timer say? We're 15 minutes in. We haven't mentioned AI yet, but Zia, their AI, was a theme throughout the event. And it's a theme throughout their platform, just like, you know, as you would expect, they have Zia helping you in everything. One particular thing that I thought that Zia did that was so cool. Let me bring up this screen, and this might be a little bit hard to see, but here's our basic chat, and someone is saying, talking to Zia, and Zia is saying, you know, basically Zia is an AI agent, but it's helping them make another AI agent to do their AI agenting. So someone says, I'm an account manager. I'm using Zoho's CRM. Create an agent to reduce customer churn. I'm worried about customer churn. So then Zia says, oh, I'm happy to create an agent for you. I need to ask a few questions. What tasks do you want it to do? You know, it's helping you. It's asking you what it needs to make the agent. What tools do you want it to be able to access? And then the human person who wants it says, I want the agent to be able to look at emails and blah, 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 blah. And then it creates it and it's able, here's the stuff that it's accessing. Here's the model that it's using. You just use an agent to make an agent. I don't know. To me, that's a seem. Is this just like, oh, so what, David? Everyone's doing this, or is this cool?
I think it's really cool. I mean, the fact
Okay.
that you could turn around and ask for to provide AI powered insights that look at, can you analyze sentiment? Can you do some sentiment analysis? Can you look at some of the trend predictions? Can you provide me with a smart dashboard? All of those capabilities allow you to be, citizens and developers to just think in terms of natural language and to be able to execute on that without having any code. I think is huge. It's a big
Yeah.
one, really big one.
Yeah, and it just seems like the ultimate meta thing. We're using natural language to create our natural language agents, and they had several different examples. They were all compelling. It's like, oh, I do. My company does need an agent to do that. Oh, my company doesn't. And then they had a marketplace. So after you create them all, you put them all in this little agent marketplace, so your company can pick which agents they want for each thing. So not only did they have an AI story like everything else, they had a couple, they have to have a couple ooh and ah moments to wake up the analysts that have been sitting there all day. This demo in particular definitely did it. Um,
Yeah. The other thing that stood out for me as well, David, is the big important point for me was having this unified data platform, because you want a single source of
yes.
truth. You don't want to have multiple systems of record, multiple systems of engagement. Which one is the predominant one? You need all of that to produce AI-driven actionable insights from Zia. So, of course, it's going to be easier on Zoho on its own platform with all the apps that it's got. But what the unified data what the unified data platform allows you to do is to collect, integrate, process, govern, and also interpret the data from all these multiple external sources with deduplication and other capabilities built in. So it's pretty good in terms of sophistication there.
Yeah, and it's actually, you could see a little bit about behind it, because this agent that's being created is pulling from Zoho CRM, and it's pulling from Zoho email. Yeah, it's pulling from different Zoho apps, and the other examples had other ones, but 50 apps, you don't want 50 different data styles. Yeah, you want them all together, and that's what I've always said about all these AI things. I don't want a million different Zias. I want one Zia that knows everything. It seems that that's what
Absolutely.
they're going for. Um,
Yeah.
let's wrap up the discussion. This is an important discussion about company culture. Um, uh, it's there's a leadership change, and it's just so brilliant the way they handled it. I think. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's really important because Sridhar Vembu has stepped down as CEO, but he's assuming the role of chief scientist, focusing on AI, artificial intelligence. So for me, it was a nice segue and handover from a CEO that has done such great, taken such great responsibility and really driven culture and been very instrumental in terms of not only driving culture within Zoho, but also in terms of philanthropy, being a great ambassador for all sorts of different initiatives in India and all around the globe. Um, it's Zoho culturally is just a completely different kettle of fish compared to some of these silicon-based software companies.
Yeah,
So it's great to see Zoho giving back. They've got some really good training programs, initiatives, and education programs in some of the towns that they support. And I think there was a slide there that showed the way in which they've brought up people from not so traditional backgrounds into becoming, software developers, salespeople, marketing people, product managers. It was all very encouraging to see the way in which this company has given back to society.
yeah. It's Sheeler is more than just a leader. He's his. It's like it feels like the company is a bit of his soul, and when a person's personality becomes that much of a company, it becomes it becomes something that has to be addressed as for the future of the company. You know, like kind of like a Steve Jobs Apple thing. You know, people can I imagine the company without him, or Disney. You know, when Walt Disney passed away, Disney World in Orlando was under construction, one of the biggest projects of all time, and work stopped because they couldn't imagine building it without him. The construction workers stopped showing up for a few weeks until someone said, "We have to figure this out," because it was, despite the fact that tens of thousands of people work for this company, he was the company. And Zoho, we have that sort of a thing like you're talking about. They showed us videos. It was amazing. People who grew up without access to a computer, they're given access to a school, and now they're sitting there and they're like, yeah, I just coded the latest Zoho app, it's really cool. I'm like, you're awesome, oh my god. And when those kind of programs and that kind of company culture exists and it's tied to one man, people start thinking, I can't imagine Zoho without him. So while he's young and healthy, having him say, "Hey, Zoho can exist without me as CEO. I'm still here." You know, he's still
Yeah,
he's still he's still very 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 here. But he's letting us know, now everyone relax. Zoho is more than just him. It's in good hands. Um,
yeah. Oh, and the co-founder Shailesh Kumar Davies stepping up as the new group CEO. So it's not as if there's another co-founder that is very familiar with Zoho's track record, culture, and setup. So it's a case of stepping sideways, perhaps, as opposed to out of the limelight.
right, and I just think it's such forward thinking. He could have waited 20 years to do this, and then all of a sudden, 20 years from now, god forbid, something happens and he has to address it, and then there's a big panic. Why not set the stage now when everything's right, everything's amazing.
Absolutely. And
Let's
why not have a
do it.
great man to sort of take on the role as chief scientist? As soon as I hear that, I
Yeah.
think of Spock. I
Right.
sort of I think back to Star Trek and chief scientist there. But yeah, why not have your best person focusing on artificial intelligence? It's obviously very huge. It's very instrumental in terms of Zoho. But I think in the way that Srihar was thinking about AI, it was very refreshing and very different to everything else that we've heard around LLMs and SLMs and all of these different terms that get branded about. I think Zoho had a very refreshing view on how AI will be implemented in the future.
Yeah, we were treated to a presentation, just his thoughts on AI, and it was very high level and very refreshing. And yeah, I think he's obviously the perfect person for this role, but I think he's excited about it. I think this is going to be more fun for him.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, any other thoughts?
I don't think so. Only that very well run. Thank you, Pooja and the analyst team
Yes.
that have put so much time and effort in there, and of course to the extended Zoho team that have come from far around the globe to put on such a great event. It was really worth going.
We should have got a selfie of you, me, and Pooja together. We'll put it right behind us there. All right. Next
There
year.
may be one that exists. Pooja was there taking photos all over the place, so I
She is
wouldn't be at all surprised if she has one.
she is awesome with the selfies, right?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
All right. Thank you everyone for watching. And we'll be back in a couple weeks. Take care.